Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk about goals and goal setting, and I'm going to talk also about lifetime goals, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, how to set them, how to backdraft, and how to keep this moving forward in your life. So you're going to want to stay tuned to see it all. Make sure that you subscribe and ring the bell for CIBN TV. And let's get started right now. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how goal setting has really helped me in my life and changed the way I do things and helped me build an empire. So many years ago, I started making goals, like I'm sure many of you have. And at first, I didn't seem to attain them. I didn't seem to actually reach my goals. They were not really coming to pass for me. So I started examining my goal setting process a little bit. And I realized that I would write them down, but then I would put them away and then forget about them. And so it wasn't really working ahead. It wasn't getting anywhere. Then I went and saw this guy talk one time about life goals. And I realized that I didn't have a life goal. I didn't have a life purpose. And I had no idea what this even meant to have a life goal. The fellow's name was Peter Daniels. He actually is a very, very wealthy man. He was visiting North America. I believe he's from New Zealand. And this is somebody who is really in the know about financial matters, about business. At the time, he was one of the owners of one of the world's only privately owned gold bullion bank, and had been very involved in many businesses, large and small, for many years, and was an advisor to all kinds of really high echelon people like Warren Buffett. So when I heard him talk about having a life goal, it really had an impact on me. And I thought, I've never thought about a life goal, never thought about that being important. And as I started to examine, my goals, I realized that I didn't have a driving purpose that was making me get excited. It was making me want to move ahead. And when I heard Peter Daniels talk, I was like, at that time, incredibly broke, really broke. I mean, this is back prior to 2010, and where I had really, not been making very good money for many years. And I was going further and further into debt. And I was a single mom, and I had 3 kids. And so when I heard this thing about life goals, I didn't even know what to pick. And as I started thinking about it, I realized that I wanted to make an impact on my family, on my life. I wanted to make an impact on other people's lives as well, and help people overcome poverty, abject poverty. And I thought, how can I help anybody when I'm in that mess myself? Here I was in the same trouble right back then. So I made this goal that seemed crazy, really crazy at the time, but he said it should be something really big. It should be like they call it a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, So I thought, okay, well, I'm broke. I don't want to be broke. How would I, what kind of a goal should I be thinking about? And I mean, you could use this kind of goal setting, this life goal idea. You can actually use this for, to have a life goal for your health, for your wealth, you could have it for spirituality. I mean, your life goal is your life goal. You can make it whatever is important to your life. And at the time that I started thinking about this, money was kind of important because, well, the thing is, it's kind of like oxygen. You don't really see it and don't really think that you need it. But if you try to do without it at all, things are going to not be so good, right? And that's exactly where I was at. So I got thinking about it back then. This is probably 20 years ago when I made this life goal. Back then, there were no billionaires in the world. There was hardly any, okay, that people were talking about. Most people wanted to be a millionaire. But I had heard him talk about billionaires and being a billionaire and being somebody that billionaires would call on for help and for advice. And I thought, man, that sounds like something. So I started thinking about my life goal was I wanted to be a billionaire before I died. And not just me, but me and my kids together, that our accumulated wealth would be like $1 billion. And that was my life goal. And I mean, you can judge me if you want to, but that's kind of, I wanted to get out of poverty, and I wanted to help other people get out of poverty. So I thought that sounds like a good goal. Now, when I made that goal, of course, it was a big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG, because I wasn't even a thousandaire. And I was thinking about, being a billionaire. So a long distance between here to there. In fact, I found out it's actually not as long as you might think. It's actually only 6 inches. The 6 inches between your ears, okay? Because you really got to change the way you think to go from thousandaire to billionaire, okay? Even to go from thousandaire to millionaire, you have to really change the way you think. But I knew that was the goal that I wanted to pursue. So I'd ask you, find your life goal. Find out what it is. What do you want to do so that you can move towards it? Because I'm going to tell you in a minute what happened as I started to move toward that goal. My whole life started to change, okay? Because prior to making that goal, for example, I wasn't really focusing on how much money I made at all. It was not even there in my mindset to even think about money. But when I started to think about the lack of it and how we needed to really change that situation for me and for my kids, I thought, well, you know what? Let's focus on that and see where that leads us. Well, it has led us a long ways, actually, and things started to change rapidly over the next few years as I kept that goal in front of me. And then as I went along, I learned other ways of setting goals. I realized that if you have a really, really big goal that's way down in the future, then you can start actually thinking about, well, what do you want for the next 10 years and for the next 5 years? And if you wanted it in 5 years, and these were your goals, then what would you have to have accomplished in 3 years to make that happen? And I started to really work through this backdrafting idea. But it all started with the life goal. So I would encourage people who are doing goal setting to start there. Think big. What is it that you want to accomplish? Why is that important to you? You see, for me, that was important to me because we were doing without at the time. It was also important to me because I come from a mindset, I'm a born-again Christian, so I come from a mindset where I believe that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That comes out of the Bible. So I realized I couldn't leave an inheritance to my children's children. And I also knew that many believers like myself weren't in a position to do that, which meant we weren't good people, according to that. We might have been good people in other ways, but we weren't going to leave an inheritance to our children's children. And in fact, many of us would pull up to the churchyard with a bumper sticker that says, I'm going to spend it all so my kids don't get it. And I thought that was deplorable. I just really didn't want that. Those weren't my values. My values were, I thought, I wasn't sure I was ever going to get any inheritance, but I sure would like to see my kids and my kids' kids get off to a better start, right? So that kind of became a driving force for me as I started to realize that I really wanted to make a difference in my family, in the family line. And that if there was poverty, if there was some kind of ongoing poverty in my life and in my family, I want to draw a line in the sand and say, this is it. This is over. And now we cross this line and we start moving on into something else. So my goals were very financial, but your goals don't have to be financial. It doesn't matter. It's your goals. What matters is that they are important to you and that you focus on them and that you start building backwards from the bigger picture. Okay. And that was where I got started with the goal financially. That ended up changing everything because new doors started to open, new business opportunities would arise, and I began to practice running a business, owning a business, selling, being in front of people, talking to people, expanding influence, all that kind of stuff started to happen because I had made this big goal. Now, when I made this big goal, I journaled about it. I wrote it down. And I would write in my journal, why this was important to me and what I felt I needed to do to move towards that goal. And in those early days, it was kind of ramblings, it wasn't really that focused. But as time has gone on, I've learned how to actually, from that, create a 10-year goal, a 5-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 2-year, 1 year, and 90-day goals. And today, actually, my organization, CIBN Connect, runs 90-day goal setting called Quarter Launch every 90 days. And why? Because big companies do this. And I mean, have you ever heard of a company that has like a 50-year goal or a 100-year goal? Man, that's thinking with foresight, really looking into the future. And as individuals, we tend to not look into the future so far. We're like, yeah, if I just make it by till the end of the month, my goal is to just have more money than month. Okay. Well, it's a very short-term goal, and we don't get ahead thinking in short-term goals. So we need to think longer ahead, have more of a runway and plan it, and actually be thinking about it in an ongoing way. Okay. So when you have a life goal, that really helps. And if you journal about it and think about it and think about why is that life goal important to you? It's kind of like that dash that's on the at the cemetery on your epitaph. Okay. There's a dash. It says, mine's going to say Kerry George, born. It's going to say my birthday. And then it's going to say, and died, expired. The expiry date was, right? Well, there's a dash in between those two dates. Okay. In fact, there's a great poem called The Dash. You should look it up. It's lovely. And it talks about, what did you do with your life? What did you do with the dash, the in-between part, right? So I found as I wrote down my life goal, it helped me figure out what I wanted to do with my dash. It helped me figure out what it was I was going to do to change my life and to change the lives of others. Now, I know some people, they work on becoming wealthy by doing other things, like taking advantage of people and capitalizing on things that they ought not to. For me, those were not my values. Okay. I believe in happy capitalism, which I describe to be as where, all parties benefit and where you add value. Okay. So that was the course that I wanted to take to attain that. And I wanted to see other people along the way benefit. I had read a lot of books. To this day, I've read a lot of books by people like Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill and Og Mandino, and then lots of current authors and writers too, Seth Godin and Tony Robbins and all these kinds of people. And as I would read these books and work on the 6 inches here that I needed to change to move closer to my goals, as I would do that and undergo that process, I discovered that, some people become wealthy by helping others. And that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to help others. That made me feel good. That was part of my core. That was, something that I felt that I could really get behind. That could be a lifetime thing. And it would help me attain my big, hairy, audacious goal, my BHAG. And it would help me a lot. And it would make me feel good as I did it, because I thought it was important to feel good. You see, if you enjoy what you do, then you don't feel like you're working. You don't feel like you're overworking ever, because it's fun. And that's what I've made my life out of. I created a networking organization where business owners get together and network. And basically, I got paid to talk to people and hang out with people and talk about their businesses and talk about their lives. And sometimes we would do it in live events where we would actually, drink beer and eat wings and have coffee and enjoy, a beverage together. And oftentimes now we do it online. And I still enjoy those beverages, coffee and whatever, while I'm in an online meeting, talking to people from all over the world. And we have a global network today. So, my life changed dramatically, and it started with this life goal. It started with a bigger picture goal that we worked backwards from, and we kept it in front of us all the time. Now, if you've been watching our videos, you probably have heard me talk about affirmations, and I created affirmations that I would say about my life goal, and I would do it regularly, like 6 times a day, talk about, I have this, I have attained this. And I would do it in a very now way. And I would talk about my life goal in that way. So I would say things like, I am a billionaire. Not it's coming or it will be someday, but I am. And I think like a billionaire. And I invest like a billionaire. I say stuff like that because that was my goal. So whatever is your goal, you want to create some affirmations that go with that, and keep talking about those things to yourself. Keep your goals out in front of yourself. So it's important that you write them down. It's important that you talk about them. And it is important that you think about it and that you affirm these things. So the reality is, though, when you get a big, hairy, audacious goal like that, you want to be careful who you talk to about that. You want to talk to yourself, okay? Sometimes even out loud. I know people might think you're crazy, but that's okay. Let them think you're crazy. They don't pay your bills. You want to actually focus on the things that are going to help you get things done. So you want to affirm those things to yourself. And sometimes you'll come into a situation where you want to talk about your goals with somebody and they become kind of negative, especially if you got a great big hairy audacious goal. They might become negative. You know, my grandma used to say to me when I was a young girl and I wanted to do something that she thought was outlandish, she would say, well, you know, Kerry, money doesn't grow on trees. And oh, well, you can't be an actress, Kerry, because that's just unrealistic. I found we're actresses every day, so it wasn't as unrealistic as we thought. You know, she said, oh, you can't, it's a crazy idea to say that you would be a millionaire, which is, you know, what I was talking about when I was 7, right? But, you know, that was her mindset. That was her experience, right? I learned over the years that I cannot limit myself to what other people's belief systems are, right? So that's an important thing when you're making goals and you're talking about your goals. If you're talking about your goals to somebody who says you can't do that, that's impossible, get away from that, okay? Stop listening to that. That person doesn't pay your bills usually. It's usually your well-meaning cousin, aunt, friend, okay, or relative, or some work colleague who thinks that you should just buckle down and stay doing what you're doing and get by slowly and stay steady. You know, those people are well-meaning, but they don't share the passion that you have for your goal. So you got to shut that off and not let that bother you. Don't let them tell you that you can't do it. Okay. Just leave the conversation, or, try not to, let them get all stoked up in that. Go tell your goal to yourself in the mirror without them present. Okay. Go talk to people who will support you in your goals so that you can reach that larger goal and start working towards it. Because just think about it. If you have a great big BHAG, I'm just calling it a big, hairy, audacious goal, and you try and you push towards that goal and you don't get there, you're still going to be so much further ahead than if you didn't actually have that goal, right? And if you do learn to goal set properly, like we do in our 90-day course, the course isn't 90 days. The course is 1 day, but it shows you how to do it in 90 days. But if you learn how to do it properly, where you write it down, you break it into chunks, you start working on an action plan for today, this week, this month. Okay, then your 90-day action plan is going to come to pass. And then you're going to be that much closer to your annual goal. And you're going to be that much closer to your 2-year goal and your 3-year goal. So it's these processes that make goal setting work. And part of that process is just really having a big picture. What is it going to be? What do you want for the future of you and your life? And what is that life goal going to look like? And if that was going to be your life goal, how long do you have to attain it? So in my family, people live a long time. Okay. I'm 52 years old, and I recently, in this last year, buried the last of my grandparents. My grandfather was 101 years old, and his wife had passed just a month or two before. And she was, I think, 96, if I remember correctly. They lived in their own home, and they mowed their own lawn and cooked for themselves and looked after themselves right until their final days. Okay. That's just one side of my family. On the other side of my family, my other grandmother passed away recently. I think she was 92 or 94. She was also very senior in her years, also very functional. All right. So I come from good stock. So, and I think with today's modern improvement, man, there should be no reason why I can't make it to 100, right? So I pace myself out looking like I'm only halfway there. I got lots of time to go, but I need to stick to the plan if I want to achieve the things that I have set out for myself. So none of us know the future. We don't know what is there for us, but think in a way that you're looking, casting out that net for years from now, okay? How old are you now? How long do you think that you probably have on this earth? What are you going to do with your dash? Okay. What are you going to actually accomplish? What's important to you? Start writing it down. Your life goal is not something you're going to figure out probably today. You might have some idea today as you start to jot down some notes, but you'll probably work on that a bit over the next few months, maybe the next year. You'll probably drill into what is that big thing that I really do want to accomplish with my life. And everybody, it's something different for all of us. I mean, if you are an inventor, you might have a great, big, hairy, audacious goal to make it so that the common person could travel to the moon every day, right? So I don't know what it is that you, maybe it's a scientific type of discovery that you're working on, that you want that to be your contribution to humanity. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe you are somebody who looks after foster children and you want to impact 100 kids in your lifetime. I have no idea what your big, hairy, audacious goal is, okay? But it's yours. But you need to think about what's important to you. What kind of lives do I want to impact? How do I think I might do it? Now, in the beginning, I didn't have any idea of how I was going to get this goal happening in my life. Okay, no idea at all. I had this great big financial goal and no vehicle, none at all, nothing that was going to produce that kind of money, right? Just wasn't going to happen. But when I started thinking about it, started planning towards it, started, making those other goal steps, vehicles began to appear. Originally, I did some marketing. I started to learn how to do marketing. I started to accept larger clients. I started to change some of my habits that would be more in line with that big goal. Changing buying habits, savings habits, investing habits. All that took some time because I had bad habits that didn't support, or they weren't even bad. They just didn't support the big, hairy, audacious goal that I had. But over time, as I worked on me and the 6 inches between my ears and took that journey, those things in my life started to change. And that became easier for me to actually start getting towards those financial goals. So things started to change. I made a scary low amount of money in 2010, scary low. I doubled it though in 2011 after I had actually started to learn these things. And then in 2012, I doubled it again. 2013, I doubled it again. And that happened for a while. And then I learned to run a business instead of actually having to go through my personal accounts. So I learned some tax advantages, which are really important, something that people who make more money have to learn, or else the government takes all of your hard work and effort, right? So these were some of the steps along the way. But when I was broke and I was a thousandaire, I didn't need to know that. But as time went along, I did need to know that. I had to figure that out. I had to figure out other lifestyle changes that supported that big goal, like not going into debt anymore, right? So that I'm not paying somebody else continuously for the things that we would enjoy. I found that you could actually save your way to finding the things that you wanted instead of going into further debt. Who knew? Okay. So, people who are wealthy own assets. I had to start thinking about owning assets. In those early days, didn't own any, never thought about it, just wasn't there. So these types of things take time. And you know what? If you have a big, hairy, audacious goal or a lifetime goal, you'll find that you work towards them, and eventually you'll start to see real progress. And that is true. Over the last decade, originally, like I said, we did a marketing business. We started doing the marketing for an organization that was doing citywide business networking, bringing business owners together. And as we did that with this small group, I started to get more involved and invite people out to the networking meetings so that, business owners like spa owners and life insurance agents and real estate agents and people like, veterinarians and those that had small businesses and storefronts, they could get together at our meetings and they could share business cards. And today we do that online, globally. But you see, it started out with some small meetings, and it started out with taking over a group in a small city because the owner was going to retire. And it just started with that. And the next thing you know, one of our largest competitor within a year of that reached out to us and said, hey, I'm thinking of selling my business, and I was wondering if you would like to get involved. And you know what? We figured out a way. I found some partners. We got involved together. We started working on it. We took over that organization and made us much larger, gave us lots of places to practice, gave us lots of people to talk to about business. We learned so much more about business. So not only did we start running networking meetings really well, like 500 of them a year in one city, we also started doing mastermind events. We would do brainstorming and strategy. And do you think that helped actually take us further along? Absolutely it did. But we started with this idea, a great big, hairy, audacious goal that was ridiculous at the time. It was ridiculous, right? All of the facts said that is a dumb goal. There is no way that you can accomplish that. But I didn't think like that. I just thought, well, that's my big goal, and I'm going to start working towards it. And over time, this organization that we've been building, which is an online networking organization, has become rather large. Today, we have members from all over the world, and we have meetings going on online. And we figured out how to actually lower the cost of networking for the average attender by a quarter, like down to a quarter of what it was before, and lower their time commitment down to a quarter. And we figured out how to help them get 2 to 3 times the profit in the same kinds of meetings that we were doing before, because we got smarter. We got smarter. And all of this comes down to the goals that we set. We just kept working on those goals, and we kept doing the backdraft. Now, these days, we run what's called quarter launch every 90 days. And it's like big goal setting, okay? Like a corporation would set goals and create projections. We do that every 90 days, and we do it with small business owners and individuals. And we do it with solopreneurs. And we do it with people who are just normal people who need to start thinking about what they want to accomplish so they can get there sooner. And that's what we do. We have the quarter launch. And you'll find that at the CIBN.com on our event page. There's an event there called the quarter launch. You can sign up for it if you want to. We have also there's more great videos like this that will really help you out. So you want to make sure that you subscribe to CIBN TV. If you're watching us right now, please subscribe to CIBN TV. We're giving you all kinds of free advice and free help and free tips and stuff like that for business here. Please do us a favor and subscribe and ring the bell. And we would love to have you watch more of our videos. Please make a comment, share, tell other people about these videos. I hope that this really helped you. And I hope that you put together your great, big, hairy, audacious goal, your lifetime goal. Start thinking about your company. If you have a company, think about what's the 10-year goal of this company? What's the 50-year goal of this company? Am I thinking about 100 years from now? What would this company be able to do if we got to this place of X? Okay? Really think about what you could do with your long-term goals if you started thinking in a bigger picture. And if you want to know how to break them down, join us for the next quarter launch, which you will find on our website at thecibn.com. All right, have a great day and happy capitalism. Looking forward to seeing you soon.